I'm now the host. Look at there.
Host
I've
with the
got control.
most.
I have control to do whatever I want. I will mute you if you get too out of line.
Yeah,
I got a lot of
that's what I did in my school, in my classroom. Of
I got
course,
a
that's right.
lot of aggression. I've got a lot of power right now. I'm going to abuse my power. That's what I'm going to do.
It's what is done.
First of all, these people have probably missed us. It's been a few weeks. So welcome back to Two C's with a Bot. Andy here.
I'm Matt. Yes, I'm Matt. I
yes,
didn't know if it was like a Matt.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't. Yeah.
Do we have
the way things have been going, it is kind of like think about in my name. It is Matt, though. Yes.
Well, we have a lot of things to catch up on. So I mean, I'm just going to start with over your right shoulder. I believe I see a Liverpool FC poster ski. Got anything happen with those guys?
Liverpool did win the championship for the first time in 30 years, Premier League. So, pretty exciting, thing. And the cool thing, which is kind of a weird thing in Premier League, which is kind of cool and kind of weird, they've still got like a quarter of the season left or more, and they're the champs because they have built such a monstrous lead in points that they're unattainable, to the second place team, which is kind of cool and does make it a little anticlimactic, in some ways, but they just were so dominant. Yeah.
So I believe that your favorite basketball player is a part owner of that.
This is such an interesting thing. Oh, I dug this out, dude, for my, speaking of like I've got other shows or whatever, but we do like basketball card things. Look what I found.
Holy shit. Is that
LeBron James rookie card, draft pick. I don't know what there's so many of this kind of stuff around. It's probably still worth like $2. But it is from 2003 though. Or no, 2000. Wait, what's it say? This says 2003. Yeah. Was that when he was drafted? I don't even.
Sounds about right. We should check with good friend of the show, Brian Hampton. Remember, he made his fortune on the basketball cards.
Incredible. Yeah,
hey,
he was in on that deal early.
Take a look. Go to the YouTube feed.
Yeah.
Okay, and put that card up there, Matt, so that he can see it. We expect a price. We want to know. How much Matt wants to unload this.
I specifically want to know how much will Brian Hampton play for this card in particular, if he would like to buy it. No, but good for him. And listen, weirdly, we've talked about how LeBron has really turned I've really changed my tune a lot on LeBron, and that's another reason to,
he's your guy.
He may be my guy now. It's so weird. It's so weird
because you guys also share a mortal enemy. A certain former Kansas City Star columnist that likes to troll LeBron.
Oh, the Jason Whitlock?
Yeah,
Whitlock. Troll LeBron?
Oh,
I didn't
trolls.
Even know he. I have done everything in my life to mute Jason Whitlock out of my life. Like I knew. What's his face? The other ding dong, Skip Bayless. I knew he trolls LeBron. Yes, no. Am I right on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
You know that Whitlock's no longer with FS1, right? Like he couldn't. They didn't come to an agreement. So he had that show on FS1 with Marcellus Wiley and now he's over with Clay Travis at Outkick the Coverage. And I'd like to dive into some of his latest works.
Please do.
Let's see. We could talk about NASCAR's noose incident can't become a cold case. Mixed messages on race increasing polarization. Fake news story provides racism is our new religion. Jack Dorsey is the most powerful man in football. Malcolm Jenkins is non-essential, not football. I'm going to go with the Jack Dorsey one. Have you seen this?
It seems appropriate. Twitter, we're Twitter guys.
Yeah. So it starts with Twitter as the head coach of your favorite college football team. Yes, even at Alabama, Nick Saban is no longer in charge. He answers to Twitter. I'm going to guess this has to do with something with them. Yep, there it is. The Chuba Hubbard. Did you hear about this?
What a name. Wonderful name. And yes, I did hear about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, he goes on to reference the Oklahoma State Chuba Hubbard. Sorry.
No.
That is a good name.
So good.
Yeah. Boy, if we had do-overs, man, that is
Chuba
it's got to be up there.
It's unreal.
I don't know about the Iowa thing. Why they fired their coach.
Strength coach, right? So yeah, strength coach did some.
Yeah,
He
and
said
then
some. Well, he's calling people. He's using the retard word, which is not nice. And
no, that
then,
was the West
oh, this is
Virginia
West
guy.
Virginia guy. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, basically,
It's
like if you
non-PC rhetoric, is what I read in this, and
yeah, if you read through this, basically he's talking about, and I think I think he brings up some good points here.
oh, I knew you would, and it is just so infuriating to me.
Well,
But
so some of these
let's see your points.
okay, so some of the points that he makes in here are that so you have 18-year-olds that don't feel that their 60-year-old coach can have an opinion that differs with theirs. And if they do, they tweet out that they feel uncomfortable, which then it causes a huge stir amongst the university and the coach. Like, I don't know if you saw Mike Gundy's. Did you see Mike Gundy's apology or whatever for?
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now that's what he gets for wearing. That's what he gets for going fishing. Like, you went fishing yesterday, you better have watched.
I don't think this had a whole lot to do with fishing. Though
It was a shirt he chose to wear that day, and
yes, I'm familiar.
He probably didn't even think about the shirt that he wore. And
okay.
do you painstakingly pick out the shirts that you wear when you go fishing? You might grab something old.
I don't know. I'm very aware of brands, and I'm over aware. That's probably a bad question for me. Whereas for other people, that's probably more accurate with. But I wouldn't wear the shirt that he has. And I wanted to let you kind of keep going. Do you want me to kind of respond to the Mike Gundy situation, or do you want?
Sure.
You want me?
Yeah.
I was going to write this with Gundy, and I was just kind of already like taking notes. Of course, you know me over here. Now they don't make any sense. I promise you. But the situation with Mike Gundy, it's a similar thing to historically. It makes me very nervous when things like OAN, these are not news networks. Okay. These are very propagandish. These are very, they're very racially insensitive. They're very sexually insensitive. They're very, everything about them screams like it's like fascism TV in some ways, or it's fascism, in media. And
I gotta raise my hand and say I'd never heard of the OAN.
This is the problem. I mean,
folks.
that's why I don't wear shirts, I guess, that I don't know what it means, because I would be horrified if I knew what they do and what they stand for as a news organization.
Real quick though,
they're not, and that's
is Under Armour and The Rock okay?
There's a difference between
wearing an Under Armour Rock shirt. That's why I'm asking. I just want to make sure that I'm all right.
Rock as in like Dwayne Johnson?
Yeah, The Rock.
Yeah. No,
he'll always be the Rock to me. Okay.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, you can call him Dwayne Johnson. He's always going to be The Rock.
Fair, and deservedly so. And that's an interesting thing, because he's, Dwayne Johnson is actually very anti-Trump, whereas the guy for Under Armour, who owns Under Armour and is a big corporate guy, is a pro-Trump guy. So it's an interesting thing, and I really tried to be careful with that to an extent. But I think money is very powerful, is as powerful as a vote. And when you spend your money places, when you do, when you go to places that or promote things that, have a certain point of view, that's a problem. And I want to I have a larger point to this, but I think we can kind of keep going through these instances if you want to talk about them. But
I catch you off on Chubba Hubbard.
I do want to say this. And this is probably what I was wanting, to write down, because I do think it's so important. I have zero concern with student athletes taking a little power back from what little power they have. They have been basically, there's probably not a group of workers, right? Or people that do a job in a place and it made more money for more people, especially coaches, head coaches. When head coaches make millions, 8 million, 10 million, $20 million, and these kids tweet something that could come from nothing, could come from middle class, doesn't matter where they came from. They don't have the power that these head coaches do. When they say, we're not going to take this from, that's not what I represent. I have no problem with that. In fact, I encourage it. Please, student athletes, use your voice. That's my opinion on it. That makes sense.
So I have to be real careful because I do believe that college athletes should get paid, especially football. But we kind of had a conversation too about text conversation while I was driving through the great state of Alabama, where, by the way, just as an aside, I saw equal amount Confederate flags and Trump flags that I saw two United States flags.
I know, dude.
Having said that,
did they know they lost? The South, they lost. It's such an interesting thing that they cling to, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Is it the, like, how do you feel about the AFC champion shirts? So, like, if you're a San Francisco 49ers, do you put up an NFC champions banner?
No, exactly. Come on, Andy. Think about it. For us, that's a great example, right? Because think about how many AFC Western Division championship shirts did you buy after like 2000?
None.
In the
zero.
year zero. Exactly.
I stopped buying those things. I was like, I will not celebrate an AFC West. I'm not going to go spend $20 on an AFC West champion shirt. No way.
And I don't even think about those teams. Those teams are still losers ultimately. I don't go around going, oh, think about that team. Like I do know that there was teams that were good, and I recollect them. But I don't like go, oh, they're,
Yeah, I think there's some that you think back fondly on. There's some that you do. You're like, oh, man, that 95 team. Oh, man, that 2003 team. Now the team was so fun.
It was just it was good defense we had great defense for a couple of years. We had great offense for a couple of years, but we never had a team.
So,
I mean, I would have fun.
Well, before we tangent too much. So, if we talk about student athletes getting paid, right, I would also argue that the vast majority of those student athletes outside of men's football, not that there's women's football, but football and men's basketball, and on a rare occasion, women's basketball,
they're actually net negative.
Those would be the only three sports in which those athletes would actually be on a revenue-producing, profitable team.
Sure.
Right? So
now my stance all the way back to just, do you pay for college at all? So that's the problem here, right? So there's a level of exactly, like I have no problem with it being tiered in the way that athletes are paid, to the point that maybe, your lower level sports that don't bring in the revenue, maybe again all they get is either scholarships or again, I think that's fair. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the athletes do. Now, I think everyone would say that's a step forward. If you say, okay, you're going to pay college football athletes, basketball, you're going to pay the high revenue sports because you're ultimately they're going to feel like that's a trickle down scenario to me. So I'm for that.
I would also say too that these kids have signed a contract, right? They've signed a contract. Like in my business, I have legally binding contracts. If a supplier pisses me off, I can't just, I'm out of here, right? I've got a contract with them. I could just say, you know what, I'm just going to buy out the contract. Now, is that fiscally responsible for me to say, well, you know what, I don't appreciate the way that you know what, your driver came in and he was listening to a radio station that I didn't like, and now I demand him off my route, which I could do. I demand him off my route, or you know what, I'm taking my business elsewhere. And if there's a contract, I have to pay to break that. Now, when I look at a student athlete, they have signed a contract. They've received something of value in exchange for their services, right?
Yeah.
So there's an exchange there. We have identified you as somebody that's exceptional in football, and we would like you to be part of the team. And in exchange for that, we're going to pay for your college and give you room and board and your pick of the sorority row, whatever they get.
I get that
I don't know. Probably not in this day.
in some
Back in
places.
our day, you probably got it, but not anymore. So like, I don't know, man, it's just such a foreign concept right now. Like I anecdotally, I talked to a guy that was telling me, I don't know why anybody would want to be a police officer, a school teacher, government official, anybody of power, because you are highly scrutinized. The t-shirt you wear can ultimately get you in trouble. So the Independence Police Department, normally they had 6 openings. Normally they have 100 applicants for every 1 opening. They had 90 people apply for those 6 jobs. They had 9 show up to take the written test. So you're kind of starting to see this thing where the inmates running the asylum, so to speak.
I don't know. I guess I just don't perceive it that way, in the sense that I think we need less police officers overall. Independence is a great example of a place where if you literally halved the police officers and you took that half of that money and you put it into social workers, counseling, rehabilitation for drugs and alcohol, you put it in actual community services and not in a militant way to
What do you think we could do to keep people
win this drug war?
What do you think we could do to keep people from starting drugs and alcohol?
Ask yourself that, Andy. Ask yourself that. Is there a way, or is it time to stop doing that, Andy, and stop saying that's not, to me, an achievable goal. What's an achievable goal is to say these are things that are not good for you: sugar, blah blah blah, alcohol, drugs, everything, the things that aren't good for you, and to learn to moderate and to learn to handle the moderation. If you choose to do it, you do it at a certain age. I think being an adult, I think, is fair. 21 to me is probably not accurate for alcohol, but I do think, like, we're over policed. I truly believe that we're over.
Well, let's go back to
when we go to, like, other people come to our country, they go, I thought this was a free country. You have more rules, more laws, you're watched more, you've got more things you have to worry about. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I look at it.
Let's go back to coaches. Head football coach at Oklahoma State University, or even at a local high school. Part of the thing that you learn from team sports is life lessons. Mm-hmm. Fair?
Of course. Any sport, sure.
Did you ever have a coach yell at you? I mean, I know you were perfect. I know that you were the man, but
oh no, Andy. Okay,
Did you ever have a coach yell at you?
I'm gonna tell you that yes. I mean, just to get through to the point, but I don't.
When that coach yelled at you, how'd you feel in the moment?
It depended on the scenario. Again, I think that it's so blind. This is one of those weird things where maybe I feel like there's gray areas and you feel there's like a black and white, where we tend to maybe differ from our normal tracks. But
I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay. But no, okay. Yeah. You feel bad. Okay. Or okay.
And then with your 18-year-old eyes, you were probably like, Coach XYZ is an asshole. All he does is yell at me. All he does is.
Okay. If there was coaches that all they did was yell at me, and I had very few of them that all they did was yell at me, again, I think that's. But yeah, go ahead.
So now fast forward 5, 10, 20 years. You look back on that coach. What do you think about him? For me, the guy that was on my ass all the time, that I was like, man, why is coach? Why is he riding my ass all the time? Why is he on me? Well, like, this guy knew that I probably wasn't going to go play basketball in college. He probably knew I wasn't even going to make the varsity team at our high school.
All right.
But I think he also saw that I was lazy, that I was not utilizing my full potential on the basketball court. And he probably felt like that translated elsewhere. And by him basically kicking me in the pants. Now he didn't physically, literally do it, but
Sure.
by him constantly being on, it was an external voice that wasn't my parents that said, I care about you, and I see that you're not giving your full effort. You need to give full effort. And I'm very appreciative looking back on that. Now, in the moment, he's an asshole. Oh, he does. He made me feel uncomfortable. He's, that's what I worry about, is that we're going to lose the mentorship.
But Andy, see, I think if you had an experience with him that's like that, then the idea that that's all he said to you was put you down about being lazy and being, I'd be very surprised to hear that. When we care about people,
but that's the thing. I was like, looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, you know what? He was right. I wasn't giving my full effort.
And that maybe, I don't know. We just have different opinions on this. If you ask one of our other friends if that's a good coach and a good guy and a person who really motivated him, he'd tell you the exact opposite, and that he felt he was very disrespected by that guy, and he would tell you that, and again, Andy, and that's his personal experience with that coach, and that's his. Now, is his experience with that coach any more valid or any less valid than yours? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's
I know who we're talking about. Is that? All of this, and you know who the friend I'm talking about, who absolutely was furious at this guy, never thought he gave him the respect he thought he deserved, and maybe he didn't or didn't. I'm just saying he had a different experience with this same coach where he felt like he actually held him down and didn't allow him and put a lot of things against him, fair or not, that whatever it is. So I just think so much of this is if we are getting away from this whole drill sergeant yell at kids, I have no problem with this. I find ways of motivating children. Now, I'm old school at times too. I burn kids back. One of my probably things that I very draw the, step on that line with is like comebacks with kids, like when they burn me, because kids feel very free to kind of like roast you as a teacher. Adults are only supposed to say certain things and very safe things. And I have a tendency to be like, it's hard for me not to. Now in my school and honestly in the culture that I feel like I teach in, it honestly works for me as long as I I'm careful, because some of those other, they really are like, whoa, they actually kind of respect a good roast, so but you also have to know and have that relationship with that kid to know that you can kind of come back at them, and that's because you've been kind to them. You've built that up. So part of me.
May actually, I know you're not on Facebook.
No.
May called you out on Facebook this week. Do you know that?
That's fine. Yeah, he's okay. He's yelling into a tunnel.
No, somebody posted it was like a baseball diamond, and then it had like fan zones, and then it had like in right field, like the outfield, it said like ex-pro player, left field like dad drinkers, like along the line like mom with wine and Yeti, like pitcher catcher's parents. Like all this stuff, and he's like, yeah, this is where Campbell sits. Like Campbell talked about sitting as far away as humanly possible at his kids' games.
I do. Yes, I try to stay away because I just, I do have a tendency to yell and get crazy. I try not to be psycho dad because I have.
But why do you do it? Why do you do it? Why do you yell and get crazy?
Andy, it's not good. I'm confused. I don't have any good feelings when I do that. And
I think you do it because you care, right? You care and you want your kids to get better.
But again, every time that I feel like I come at it from that angle as a coach, and again, see, that's the difference is a parent from a coach if it comes from his coach, and that's where it's really hard. What I've been trying to do is really draw the line between, because I do help him play goalkeeper, and that's where I'm like a coach. But he has an actual coach, and I let his actual coach him as much as I can, because I can't. And if his actual coach gets on his case and, you know, gives him an earful about him needing to play harder or something he does, I have no problem with that. Again, because he has, at least the coach prior to, we got a new coach this year, has built a huge, awesome relationship with Tanner. He's been so kind, so, you know, helped him out for years. They've got that relationship, and that's fine. I guess all the football stuff, I don't, because Andy, so much of that stuff. Maybe let me say this. If you can motivate kids and yell at them without being sexist, without being homophobic, without being racist, without being all those things, cool, I guess. Cool. Does that make sense? But the problem is, so much of this, I know that, and that's the problem with so many of the coaches and so many of these things. You know, they have no concept of where to draw that line. And again, I have no problems with a coach. Think about the coaches that I like, you know, like a Coach Krzyzewski. You know, if you don't think he doesn't belittle, you know, demean his players, that's what he does. But on the flip side, you never see players mad at him. You never see players, you know, very few of them. It's starting to get that way a little bit, you know, but all those other players, you know, and stuff for so many years were like, they took it, you know. But I think it's because he had built such a relationship with those players and such a thing, he could get away with that. And again, as long as he's not calling them, again, racist, sexual, you know, homophobic kind of stuff, okay.
Well, and I think I was having a conversation with somebody today at work. He was reading me a question that Trump got and an answer. And I looked this up. I did not know that Trump is our oldest president.
It seems accurate. Yeah.
It is accurate. He's, sure. He was the oldest at inauguration.
And that's what's crazy, because
we were talking about
Hillary would have been close, I think. And then like Joe Biden's as old, Elizabeth Warren's as old. That's what's weird. Like everybody that honestly, Bernie Sanders is obviously as old.
Yeah. Cause like our conversation, like I just said something like I said, you know, the systemic issue is really this two-party system. That's the issue. And I said, we're also putting 70-plus-year-old people up. I think the probably prime age, probably like, this is tough.
It's going to be ageist. You're going to feel ageist a little bit, because I think little bit.
I think where Obama was
Agreed.
right on the cusp of, I think Obama was 47 when he went in. So I think you're looking at 40. I think between 47 and 57 is probably a good age. Absolutely. And I also wonder if that 47-year-old do they have enough life experience? And that's kind of what a lot of this goes at is, now I will also acknowledge too that, you know, maybe these 60-year-old coaches that are working on their sixth generation of players, you know, like, because I think about,
you got to change your tune a little bit. Like, they're different kids. It's okay that they're just a little different.
So I've had my shop for 9 years. Mm-hmm. This is like my fourth batch of high school kids that have come through. And I will tell you, each one has gotten softer. Each group is softer. They definitely expect more, and they expect to put in less. And that's what I'm concerned about.
I don't know, Andy. I mean, part of you I get, and because again, you are coming from a place where that directly affects you in a negative way. But part of me goes like, I don't know. And I want you to keep in mind that our children are getting close to that age, you know? So I want you, you know, like, I don't think of Tanner as soft. I don't think of
my kids are, you know, like my kids are, they're going to be terrible employees.
I don't know, you know, like it's just such horrible. I don't know. And part of me goes, do kids work too hard? did we work too hard as kids? Not me. I was pretty lazy. You worked very hard as a child, or not as a child. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but
Yeah,
like
I was
you worked
definitely
very
breaking
young.
some child labor laws there. I
No,
want to
yeah,
talk
no,
to
I
you.
don't. Yeah, I don't think that was the case. But you were like you got very early into the workforce and were working heavy hours and a lot of time. When you were working early on, and it goes to your point that you've worked hard from the time when you could work hard, till now, and so like, but part of me goes, I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know. I don't know if that's and that's very worthy and that deserves merit, But part of me goes, is that really how in our 80 years that we're going to get here, 90 years, maybe 100 years, whatever it is, that's a lot of time working, and a lot of time, I don't know. I don't know if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I also think that when we like at some point there becomes too much of an age and ideals gap. Like if you look at a 20-year-old versus an 80-year-old and the ideals, like I mean there's been a lot of water under the bridge. Like the
Sure.
way I know that there's still things that I hold on to, and it's just there's definitely better ways of doing certain things, but I've always balanced my checkbook this way, so to speak. I've always balanced my bank account
Oh,
with
I
this
know.
tool.
My
And
wife does
so
that.
for
Yeah.
me as a 40-year-old, it's just easier for me to do it in Excel. I'm sure my bank has a tool that's, much better than what I have, but I created
My
this
wife
thing and I work.
uses a handwritten ledger,
Yeah, she's old
like
school.
a real antique, and she's younger
Yeah.
than we are. But
Yeah,
she's worked at banks, that's her thing, she's very cognizant of that because she, very much worked at banks and watched people just jack that shit up, people like me. And so I'm very blessed that she handles that that side of our operation.
yeah,
It's good to keep track of it. You do it
it,
in an Excel, which is much, much more, efficient in a sense, and a good way to do it. But right, a lot of people nowadays just, rely on whatever the internet tells them or whatever
sure.
the ATM receipt
Yeah.
says.
Yeah. And a lot of times, I am actually shocked when people ask me for a receipt.
Oh, I know. And here's my thing. You know what I say? And it's the stupidest. It drives Deanna crazy. But like I always say, my wife will be happy if I get one. Because that's what I say. Because I always get one because my wife wants one. I would never. I would be like
Yeah.
some hippie shit. It would be an excuse. It'd be like save the tree and don't take the receipt.
Yeah, receipts are like ridiculously long. Have you been in like a CVS or a
Oh, gee.
Walgreens?
Yeah.
You
No.
could
The
write the
best.
Declaration of Independence on those things.
Oh no! Did you see the best freaking thing on the internet? Like what earlier this year, or maybe I don't know. I don't really know time now, so it could have been 5 years ago. I don't remember. But did you see the people that made the drapes out or the blinds out of the CVS
Oh my
receipts?
goodness.
That's amazing. Yeah, they had like a whole like window like of this door right here or something, and it was blinds made of CVS receipts.
They're so long. Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's dumb. And again, but that's the problem. So you don't want to take them, because you're like, oh no, just I don't want that thing, even though it's like full of coupons and shit. See, that's the other part. My wife actually used those coupons. Well, we've talked about that, right? Like the Price Chopper receipts or like the grocery store, always has the coupons on them. We've talked about that before, and I'm like, I think Deanna is the only person that I ever know that's actually used those coupons.
Yeah, we bought ad space on the back of those
Yeah, I
coupons. It's
know. Remember?
been a horrible investment.
Yeah,
Terrible.
again, there is one person in America that does that shit, and that is my wife. But
Yeah.
God bless her.
I think she actually used a coupon last week when she was in.
I know.
She did. She didn't.
Well,
use
it was a special deal though, Day. Don't. Let's be honest here. It was a special deal
It's
day.
a special day, so she's like, "I'll be in."
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what she said. Bargain shopper.
Man.
God bless. Again, it's good for. Again, that's the kind of stuff that you have to be. You're blessed as when you're the opposite as when you, again, as a significant other. You're lucky to have that.
Well, and I think it's also one of those things too, where you've got a significant other that has complementary skills.
Yes, that's key. Yes, exactly. That's like the opposite part. That's good. Like your interest and things like that and all that kind of stuff. You can get the whole like opposites attract thing is a little bit, depends on what you're talking about. Opposites that work, like that to me
Like
is good.
Paula Abdul and that cat.
The cat, that was kind of, there was a lot of things going on, actually. The more you look back at that cartoon, you go, the
You think
cats.
you think her and the cat had a thing? Like, you think they were knighted for a little bit, or
Well, that was what it was implied by the video. Let's just say that. I mean, right? I mean, I think that was the whole
wasn't
thing.
Paula Abdul like wasn't she like Arsenio Hall? Wasn't there something with her and Arsenio Hall?
She has been with, was it Emilio Estevez too? She's been, I thought she had
Man,
like
young.
many celebrities she was with there for a little bit. God bless her. Paula Abdul, talented gal.
Was
I
she?
don't, good dancer. Yeah, good choreographer. Good, I mean, singer.
Laker girl.
Yeah. Yeah. She's kind of like the first, she was like a pre Jennifer Lopez. She kind of did that route, but Lopez got a little more acting talent.
How do you feel about Alex Rodriguez? I mean, while we're on the subject of people that
he might have dated Paula Abdul too. I don't think, actually, that may actually be accurate. I don't know.
Hold on. Google what? Go ahead and talk. Did Alex? Hold on. Did Alex Rodriguez? Go ahead. Just fill time here.
Yeah. No.
Date Paula Abdul. No.
God knows what you could find when you.
Wow, Paula Abdul was charged with a hit and run in 2005.
Paula's been through it a little bit, I think.
She failed to look while changing lanes and did not stop.
Oopsies. Paula went through a time, I think. If you remember, like American Idol time for Paula was a little bit rough by the end of it. Like, I just feel like there was a whole lot of slurring of words and just kind of went downhill for her for a second. But she's made a comeback. I saw her on a speaking of this, I saw her on a commercial the other day. It was like it had her juxtaposed with her like old school self, and it's pretty impressive.
She's still keeping it tight, looking good.
I don't know. I mean, the choreography was good, the dancing was good. Yeah, it was excellent. It's a good commercial. Again, Paula, so I'm gonna give Paula, she was a B- as far as like talent goes in that time period. She had some huge hits.
Huge what?
Huge hits with an H. Thank you. H. But no, how did we
hold on, let me Google images. I was just about to say, you know what I love about this? We start with Jason Whitlock, and somehow we end up with Paula Abdul and Scat Cat.
And this is so much
and Alex Rodriguez.
Safer and better and funner. Yeah,
and this is probably why we have 7 listeners.
Going back to that clown, though. God, Whitlock. Can we just maybe talk about Whitlock just period?
Sure. Yeah, what do you want to say about Whitlock?
Here's my thing about Whitlock, okay? And I think we have a unique perspective here in Kansas City, and people also in like our age have a unique perspective, because when we were kind of growing up and would have been following the Chiefs pretty heavily, he was in Kansas City and he was writing for the Kansas City Star, right? And he was basically the Chiefs, writer, and did a lot of opinion stuff and different things. If you remember, Andy, like here I'll just say this. I don't buy his act, if that makes sense.
So you think he goes, because he's very anti-Black Lives, he's anti-Black Lives Matter. He's constantly calling out LeBron et al. For
he's the conservative guy of, right. Yeah. I shouldn't say I don't know. He's got a kind of a broad ranging views, but he tends to be hot take guy on the more kind of conservative side of things.
He seemed to it felt like back in the 90s, he was very quick to pull the race card and play the race card. And then now he has gone completely 180.
Thank you. Because again, that's why we have the unique perspective that we have. And I don't think that a lot of people, weirdly, and not that we, it's not like it's just us two, and not that we have any pull or any like say in this world of, media, but like that's why I would respect him. I don't agree with anything he says, but I would have respect for him if I felt that he genuinely believed this stuff. But I think he realized that was a niche he could get in and make money in, and he would be promoted in a lot bigger way than the other way he went. and that's what he went with.
And he gets fired a lot, but he also gets rehired.
And that's okay. And this is what I'm going to say back to the whole, and that's an awesome, like, we'll bring it all the way back full circle. Some of these coaches, some of these celebrities, some of these people that are this like, let me just say this on the cancel culture thing. I think this is something, that this kind of all goes back to this concept of like cancel culture, right? My problem and my worry with this is that it's like this backlash thing that's a little out of control, because nothing ultimately really happens to these people, if that makes sense. And I'll give you an example. Think about Richie Incognito. Okay, think about that. Huge scandal, right? He bullied the kid, right?
Martin.
Yeah, big old scandal. He was playing in the league last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, he basically got like what was it, about a 1-year suspension?
Exactly, or something. Yeah. This idea that these guys' lives are ruined. They're ruined. It's over. They've been canceled. Is ludicrous. Mike Gundy comes out, says a ridiculous apology that's obviously ridiculous, and it will be another news story tomorrow. Jimmy Fallon, I got into it with somebody about, we talked a little bit about Jimmy Fallon and how he had a deal where if you remember, it was, again, a blip, but it was, he dressed in blackface and pretended to be Chris Rock for a Saturday Night Live skit. And just for a little blip, it came on the radar. Jimmy Fallon did blackface, in 2000. And people, this cancel culture. Why are we doing this? Jimmy Fallon, he's a good guy. And again, yes and no. Both of those things are probably correct. He shouldn't have done it. Obviously, I think you shouldn't do that. But I think he's not that, I don't think that was his intention. But bottom line is, it was gone here today, gone tomorrow, So I do find like the reaction to some of these, like, they're getting canceled things are almost an overboard reaction to it. Like, and if it forces Mike Gundy and some of these other people to just be a little careful with what they're saying, like, Andy, we've said, let's go to the word retard.
I don't think Mike Gundy said anything. I think that whole thing was about a T-shirt that he had, right?
Yes, but it's making that's the problem. Your words make a statement. Your shirts make a statement. Like, this shirt is a fish shirt. I mean, no one's gonna be shocked here that I like fish. But again,
I was unfamiliar with that.
But I'm just saying, but so I there's levels of it. I don't think the guy deserves. But if he loses his job, okay, let me say this. I got it.
You want to know how he's going to lose it? Here's the interesting thing is he has not. Like, when was the last time Oklahoma State?
They're trash.
I don't think they've ever been to a BCS bowl game.
Exactly. You're right. If he gets fired, they're going to put it on this, and it's because he hasn't performed. Exactly.
I'm going to look up Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State.
He's like a character. He's like a goofy character. He's like a
Oklahoma State football Big 12. Let's just see how many Big 12 championships they've won. Championship. Okay. Let's see. Oklahoma State Big 12 championships shows their schedule.
Because
how many Big 12 championships does Oklahoma? Okay, here we go. By team. Big 12 championships by team. You ready for this?
Yeah, it's
just give me a chart. Jeez. Okay. Oklahoma has 13.
Of course.
Texas has 3. Baylor has 2. Kansas State has 2. Nebraska has 2. Colorado has 1. Oklahoma State has 1. Did they share it? No, they did not. 2011.
Was it Mike Gundy?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was there in
Maybe
2011.
that's why
he's been there. He's been there for a long time. Also, just for the record, Nebraska with 2 is no longer in the conference. And Colorado has the same amount.
Also gone.
Also not in the conference. Iowa State, Kansas, Missouri, Texas Tech, and West Virginia never won one. I don't think that's right. I thought Kansas won one.
No.
Well, the year that Missouri and Kansas were 1 and 2. When was that?
One of them won.
But it shows them as 0. So I don't know. You can't really trust Wikipedia.
Was that the last year of the Big Eight?
Mike Gundy has one. He has one Big 12 championship in 2011.
9 years ago.
Yeah.
Again, it's not about – and again, if he'll get a slap on the – and here's what I'd say. You just – Andy, it's no different. You're exactly – what you said before is exactly correct. Head football coaches are not the only people in the world that when they're out in public, they have to be careful about what they're doing. And if and if something happens and they're represented in a different way, the college is going to say – this is not what represents us, and it's going to be a problem. And
wasn't there a guy that took a selfie with somebody and he had a controversial shirt on? Oh, it was was it the Texas coach? Is this ringing a bell?
I don't know. Remember the Iowa State guy that went to like the frat parties and stuff?
Flair Eustace.
Eustace, fucking that guy shouldn't have been fired. Like why would you fire him for that? He was just fucking partying.
Eustace, man,
he was cool
great.
As hell.
Yeah, Eustace, he won a lot of basketball games. Haven't been good since.
Of course he did. Hell yeah, he did. I don't know. I understand that there is a level of, and
let me ask you this though, as we're running low on time here.
Oh yeah, are we?
Yeah. Players on Twitter. Like if a football coach were to say part of team rules, no tweeting.
I think that's a bad idea, but I think it's the coach's decision, and then it's up to the owners, and then they have to decide like where they're going to fall on that. I think it's a terrible idea. But
okay.
Go ahead.
Question number 2.
Are we talking about NFL players?
No, we're talking about college players. Chuba Hubbard.
It's a little trickier. But I would say no. I wouldn't do it. And is it legal though? Again, I don't know.
Number 2. Why didn't the player have a conversation with the coach first? Player goes to Twitter immediately, right? Very reactionary. Sees it because if my memory serves correct, this was all. He was on a fishing trip, and somebody's like, "Hey, good day fishing," and he was wearing the shirt, which sparked outrage from this player about like things are going to change. I'm not doing anything.
Outrage. I mean, he just said, and
he just said he's not going to play. He said he's not going to play for Oklahoma State.
I'm confused at why that wouldn't be his right as a human being as well.
Sure.
So go ahead and say, does that make sense?
Yeah, he could absolutely say, I'm not going to play for Oklahoma State, but he has signed that scholarship. So is Oklahoma State supposed to release him from that scholarship and go let him play football somewhere else? Or are they just supposed to say, sure, man, no problem.
But
no
that's scholarship,
the problem with him not getting paid.
Anyone
there. You can't play
that's the
anywhere
problem
else.
with him not getting paid. I mean, I don't know. I mean, part of me goes, no. Part of me goes, who cares? They can get another, running back tomorrow. I don't.
You are not an at-will employee. You personally are not an at-will employee. You cannot decide in December that you're
going to work. Am I Chuba Hubbard or am I?
You're Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell. Okay.
So you have an employment contract.
I'm actually Chuba Campbell now.
We're renaming you.
Chuba Campbell.
Welcome back
to you shouldn't give your own.
Welcome back to 2 C's with a pod. I'm Andy. This is Chuba.
Campbell. Chuba 2 C. It works. C's.
Yeah, it still works.
Yeah, 3 C's.
Yeah.
Technically, Chuba Campbell works.
Yeah, but you
and I am Chuba.
You signed a contract with your employer, correct?
That's where it's tricky, dude, because they're not getting paid. They're getting paid in that education. I know. And
I know,
paid in that.
But
you signed a contract.
You signed a contract, yes. Right? I have contracts, right? But if you tweet something and your superintendent doesn't like it, and you're punished for that.
That is very, very plausible.
You can't just say, well, you know what? I'm no longer going to do anything with XYZ school district Like if your superintendent now you can if you want out of the profession because you're not going to go to any other school district and teach after that because your industry has a long record of blackballing people.
Yes and no.
There's not a lot of teachers that get fired from one district for cause or whatever, not cause, but like because they
sent a bad tweet. I mean, Andy, honestly, I don't know. You'd be surprised. I think like there's still a level of like they call it like if you ask principals and stuff, they call it pass the trash. You know, it's no different than, and honestly, it's very similar with police. It's very similar in a lot of companies and a lot of places. You know, the Catholic situation, right? With their priests, that was the problem. Instead of really ultimately eliminating these people from the profession, they just kind of move on to different places and different routes. Now, here's how you do that, Andy. You go to places like charter schools, you go to places like private schools, different places like that have a different level of background checkability and different things like that. And you can work your way back into the school systems when you probably shouldn't, if that makes sense. Probably easier than you'd think. Now, you're exactly right, too. There's many principals. They, on the flip side of it, it's a very personality driven job. And so if a principal doesn't like you, they will very much be like, fuck off.
And that permeates everywhere. Right. I mean, everything is like it that's not just in teaching. That's remember the end of The Wire, the season 2, when the McNulty, the captain, asked him that question. He's like, tell me
what's
something.
The worst thing you
tell
never
me something,
that
Jimmy.
Question.
And where don't you want? Where don't you want to go?
Classic.
What's the worst? You know. So I mean,
never on the boat. And how long is he before he's on the boat? Like fucking 3 months later, he's on the boat. Just please don't put me on the boat, man. Anywhere but on the boat.
Tell me where you don't want to go, Jimmy.
Yeah. What a dumb. Why did he answer that?
He had to, right? Like, you know, there's really
he was either going to get fired or go on that boat.
Well, let's put on you're put on a no-win, right? Like you're like, well, I don't want to. I don't want to be a detective anymore. All right, you're a detective.
I think that's an interesting and I think that's an interesting conversation too that I watched on that they were talking about on the Daily Show, and just the idea of like, and I think The Wire does a pretty good job. Although it's interesting, you do find McNulty and Bunk and them as like heroes at times, but you also realize that like they're not good cops, you know, and they're not people that honestly should be cops, you know. I mean, like they have emotional and psychological problems. They have, you know, like they're. I am all in favor again of paying cops more and training them and making them better, if that makes sense. Like I'm not anti-cop. I want better cops, you know, like I want
RoboCop. You want RoboCop?
I don't want RoboCop.
Say it.
Although he was pretty chill. Like he was a pretty cool guy, but I would say like, you know, overall, like, you know,
RoboCop.
Maybe fair enough. Maybe I do want RoboCop, or like a bunch of little short circuit Johnny Fives running around.
Dude,
remember Johnny Five?
Do I remember Johnny Fives?
It's a classic.
You know, yeah.
So
input, more input.
Yeah,
Johnny Five. You've got all the encyclopedias.
Every kid that is Johnny in my classroom or in my school who's Johnny Five. Johnny Five is alive. This poor kid. I had a Johnny this year. He was Johnny Five is alive, and I had to explain it to him. You know, like, oh, it's this '80s movie, freaking robot.
He's looking at you like, yeah, cool, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, it's like awesome, bro.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. Maybe next week we do a watch along of Johnny Five. And
oh God, we should. There's some really weird things about that movie, actually. I think I watched it not too long ago, and I was like,
I'm sure it's
really
horrible. It's got to be terrible.
It's horrible, and it doesn't like age well in some certain scenarios.
Well, I'll see if my parents still have the VCR tape of it that we probably recorded illegally using those FBI warnings.
That is amazing.
All right, man.
I remember watching some awesome shows that you're gay about.
Dude, yeah, the 2 VCRs, man. We need to talk about the VCRs at some point.
Hell yeah.
I think we're gonna save USA for USA versus Angola well, we're deprived of the Olympics this year, so I think come the month of July, Matt and I are gonna pick some Olympic things to watch. So
do like Michael Phelps.
Yeah, you're probably
super
gonna hear
fun.
us breaking down some gymnastic stuff as only we can do.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Look at them flips. Look at them.
Oh, she didn't stick the landing.
Like some Snoop Dogg. Have you seen those like Snoop Dogg nature videos or different things like that? It's like, look at he's like all ripped. And yeah, I love that.
One quick story from vacation before I go. They had jet ski races right outside. We could watch jet skis racing. So when we got there Friday before my sister, these buoys were out in the Gulf, and we're like, well, we've never been here. This is normal. And when she gets there, she's like, what are those buoys doing out there?
Right.
I'm like, well, there were some dudes like ripping some jet skis. So I look it up, and Pro Watercross was in Panama City the same weekend we were. Dude, we were sitting up there watching these jet ski races.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we're just so deprived of like real sports, but we're like totally getting into this thing. It was like Tiger and Peyton versus Brady and Mickelson. I was like, man, that's some compelling TV. And then I'm thinking like, you know what? If this was a normal year, I wouldn't even give this thing the time of day. I'd be watching like NBA finals, NBA playoffs, stuff like that. But I'm like, boy, that was really fun watching Tom Brady hit a golf ball just like me. But here I am, me and Mason.
They're trying to bring soccer back. I mean, in Florida, even though Florida's had some of the.
Yeah, we'll see how the NBA's bubble city goes.
Same deal it'll be an interesting thing. I think the women's soccer is actually there too as well. They're starting even before anything else. So it's like an experiment now with everything and with schools next year. Just if you're a parent at home and you're a big listener of 2Cs, just be prepared for having kiddos with you. Just so you know.
Well, we're sending ours to summer school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They start they start the weekend after the 6th.
When's the last bit of information you've gotten on that?
Yesterday.
Really? What'd they say?
We'll see you the 6th.
Tell me, in Independence?
Yeah. Oh, whoa.
Wow. Independence, Kansas.
Independence, Ohio.
Independence, right. Yeah, my bad. No, that's interesting. I'm curious what the town that I work in happens to be doing too. That's interesting because I don't do summer school. Like, who knew? Now, as a worker, as a kid, we did send Piper last year.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised that they're having it, but yeah, they're having it. So, yeah. Well, next week let's talk 4th of July. 4th of July celebration of America.
Let's do it. Hot dogs.
Country I love. Country you hate. It's gonna be great.
No, hey, let's not end on that. Easy. I have it back here, the wonderful USA. Please, Dave, you can again.
What do you have up there in the corner?
Black Lives Matters, because that is as protest is the American way, Andy. Protest is the American way.
What's your hot dog's name?
This country was founded on protest. The Boston Tea Party, all that shit. Crispus Attucks. Look, history, man.
You're the best, buddy.
See, it sounds good when it comes from a hot dog. I'll just put him right here.
The thing is,
a lot less aggravating.
What we need to do is we need to get some of those like popsicle sticks with like the big heads and just hold them up in front of us, and it's like, look, you might not.
These guys, I have little emojis.
Yeah, but you need the like big head of like I don't know, Shaq, or
and then we can cut their mouths out.
Yeah,
cut their
exactly.
mouths out. Right.
It's like, well, yeah, well, it pissed me off when Matt said it, but Shaq said it. I really think.
Exactly. Like, how can you be mad at this hot dog while he's talking to you?
Look at that guy, man.
Exactly. Raise the minimum wage. See, you're not even mad at him now.
Sounds like a good idea, buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to eyesight it here soon, too.
Oh, with what's just left? That'd be interesting. I
want to see, because you were up in the 90s. Where do you remember where you were with Biden?
Oh, nowhere near. I mean, I don't know, but closer than Trump, but definitely.
Yeah, you were
I'm starting
13%.
to like the.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm
Wasn't I
in the
like
60s.
Wasn't I like 2% off of those two?
I think
I
you
was
are
like,
probably. You'd be surprised how close to Biden you probably are overall.
no, I was like
would think.
really, I was close with both of them.
Yeah,
Like
and
it was
Trump.
like 64, 62 or something like that.
They're not that much. I mean, they're different enough for sure for me, believe me. But they're not that much different, I guess.
Well, all right, man. We'll catch up next week. We'll do some 4th of July traditions and celebrations and talk that. So, all right, friends. Well, good to be back. Sorry I took vacation. No, I'm not. I'm glad I took. I should have taken. I should have taken a longer.
Late July too.
I should have taken a longer vacation. Is what I should have done.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
Permanent.
See you later.
See you guys.